Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Next time somebody says to you that you're acting like a child, you realize that you are acting like a child. You could tell them, yes, I am, as a matter of fact. And I have no idea that I actually am, because we all are. It's called the inner child. It pilots us, and to take care. It pilots us most times in a bad direction, or a direction that doesn't fully support us or blocks us.
Right.
And then in lies shadow work. And we're going to talk about that today. We've hit it every once in a while, but it's just such a huge eye opener for many of us. She's an amazing psychologist, helps people with this and so much more all the time. Author of some great books as well. And Ann Creekmore is back with us on the program. How are you doing today?
Good, Steve. How are you?
Good. It's great to have you back here. And this is kind of fundamental. I want to start with an email that we got. Instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com is how you can reach out to us. And this came after we just briefly mentioned this a few weeks ago. And it says, you were talking today about childhood experiences formatting our lives today. You mentioned the age of 7. You hit it right on the head with me at age 7. You couldn't be closer to the truth. So there's somebody that I think is now realizing, what we're talking about. I only realized this in the last, I don't know, maybe 4 years. By the way, that is from Mitch in Ocala, Florida. It's my understanding that things you experience as a child, good or bad, really charts the course for the way you will act as an adult. And I've heard these numbers, and I love your feedback on it. 0, birth to 7, and then 7 to 14. Very formative in those years for different reasons, but certainly I'm even hearing age 2, the stuff that,
Absolutely.
the interactions with your parents and things like that is
Right.
it's a big deal.
It is.
Tell me what you know.
Yes, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, personality is supposedly developed during the first 7 years, by age 8. Or the your main personality. And so, yes, those years are extremely important years that you internalize and become, your foundational personality.
Now, this is what you do. Did you, once you realized this, once you fully understood it in your studying to be a psychologist, did you personally start looking back at your life and just reflecting, what was life for me as Anne at age 2 and maybe 4 and maybe 7? Did you have that reflection?
Sure. And, a particular program that I went to was a doctorate in psychology and clinical psychology, a PsyD, which is, we, of course, had the dissertation research, so all the courses you have to take PhD. But we actually had more on the understanding, the specialization year, not an extra thesis one. We did the specialization, and there was a lot of, we were really required to heal our wounds as part of the program as well. And so we had to go to therapy, even as part of the, becoming a psychologist in the PsyD program, just much more focused on really helping people, not as, included, of course, all the academic scientific course in every subject that you have to take. But so I remember also in therapy, I was in Gestalt therapy during that time. And Gestalt, Pearls invented Gestalt therapy. And I think they practice it a lot out in California, the Esalen unit. They did the chair, like you kind of work with yourself, like you're in one chair and then you put another part of yourself in the chair next to you and your inner dialogue.
Yes.
And you can also do that imaginally, like in your mind, you can kind of visualize things as well and get at some roots of things that you wouldn't really be aware that were impacting you, and then just bring that up for healing.
Yes, and yes, and yes. I did hypnotherapy, roughly 4 years ago, and
Hmm.
did a handful of sessions. Game changer. And the one session I will never forget is me facing myself as a young child and reassuring, like just like you said, sitting right across and reassuring that child that as an adult, almost like you're the parent to your child,
Absolutely.
you,
Absolutely.
but it's you.
Hmm.
And reassuring, like, I got you. Don't ever worry. I'm always here for you. I'll
Hmm.
never leave you. I got it. Don't
Right.
worry.
Right, exactly. That's the inner child work, where putting your little self, little Steve, right, sitting next to you, and big Steve, the adult can there, dialogue and find out what, the wounds are and be there and to bring them up to that level of knowing they're all is well.
Mm,
And you
uh,
can actually in hypnosis age them up too if they're there. I mean, hypnosis, you can do so many things, and I've done it since my residency, way back. That's when I learned it. But they you can actually age progress that parts of you, those children. It was so that they can actually grow up. So not only do they get like an interaction, your mentoring and your healing and your support, but you can actually in hypnosis do something where you say, hey, that part of you want to grow 3 years older. And over the next minute, you can grow 1 year older. And then over the next minute, another year. So maybe 3 years at a time. And that can make a big difference in a person's maturity level because we're often having kind of parts of ourselves, an internal family system. That's a big form of therapy now, internal family systems, IFS, that you can actually kind of reach into those parts of yourself because you may not all be immature and seven, but you can go there and then you can work with that. There's specific ways of doing this shadow work, and doing the healing. But you can also get the therapy to kind of talk and get that part up front to go age up every week. You can get up to into your age, and it can make such a big difference when you're not carrying around a child that's holding that trauma or holding that job from way back then, and it's still a young age. Like you were saying at the beginning, how people will go, yeah, you're acting like a child. Well, yeah, maybe you've moved into that part of yourself, but
oh,
you address it and can heal it and realize it's okay, it's in the present. A grown adult independent man body, and then actually do the therapeutic work, the hypnosis to age progress them up little by little. It can make such a big difference in the person's emotions, their maturity level, and everything.
mm,
It's a form of.
I I've heard a lot. I've never heard of intentionally aging the inner child.
Mhm.
Um,
That is a therapeutic hypnotic technique that can be used, and it just happens like really, it's so quickly. Like, I mean, hypnosis can you can do anything. Work on not procrastinating, work on not being depressed, or work on your memory, focus. You can, when you're in that state, you have so much you can do with your mind. Your mind is so adaptable. You can actually kind of hypnotize um, to age up, to age progress.
mm, let's do it. I
It
am
will be
so on board.
good.
So
It's
once you
fun.
discover, what these modalities can do
Uh-huh.
to give you the realization, and then find a way to, fix yourself, if you will.
Exactly.
Oh, don't be afraid, people. It's all good. It's the best thing you'll
Absolutely.
ever do for yourself. Um,
Absolutely. You shouldn't feel afraid or bad about going. Everyone can use therapy, and everyone's got stuff to discover about themselves to be the best self.
sure.
Yeah.
So they call it shadow work. I have an idea of why, but I'm not 100% sure. Can you tell why?
Well, it's a deeply buried kind of fear-based negative energy within you, your shadow. It's
Okay.
kind of like a black cloud that, is out there that out of the blue will get triggered, and it's deep down and you're not really aware of it, but it's there. And the shadow work is to bring it to light so that you know what these deeply buried field-based kind of negative energies within you actually are. Because when you bring it to light, like you said, there's no reason to be scared of it. It's been that way forever. Now, if you bring it up, you can heal it at least, right? It's not like you're being told you got some, progressive disease. It's like, oh, my mind's working like that. I've got that wound. Now I can heal the wound now that I know it's there. Get the right help.
I also get this visual with the word shadow that, you ever hear like your little shadow, let's say you have a little kid, let's say your little son or whatever. Yeah, this is me and my shadow right here.
Right.
Do you think that that's part of it?
It's kind of an interesting thing you brought up. It might be almost like, kind of like a little awareness of it, that people know they have that. And then it's been put out in a fun way, me and my shadow, I think
Hmm.
so. Yeah.
So I'll share, and this is in real time. I'm part of a men's group, and we do leadership and community service, but also we touch upon some deeper personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The topic last night was shadow work,
Mm-hmm.
and there were about a dozen basic questions that were thrown out, and we needed to write down the answers.
Mm.
And maybe the questions might be, let's see, what don't you want people to know about you, but it holds you back? Things like that. And
Right.
just, kept going a little bit deeper, a little deeper. I looked at my answers, and they were out of the 12 questions and answers, about three or four of them centered around one thing. And I didn't try to answer this way. It just kind of came out this way.
Right.
It was my dad.
Mm.
And didn't have a very close relationship with him. He passed when I was in my low 20s suddenly.
Mm.
Um,
I'm sorry.
I thank you. I realize I'm very much like him now.
Right.
Didn't
Yeah.
then.
Uh-huh.
Um, but those answers, it came back to him. And it's kind of like
Mhm.
I put it out of my mind. That was my life then. Um, he's
Mhm.
since he's not here, he's not there, in my full consciousness.
Mhm.
Um, but that's what this is about. Your subconscious.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot more there than I realize,
Right.
because you don't know until you go to somebody like you or to figure it out. But those answers came up, and I honestly answered. I was just like, man, well, that's the answer. On to the
Uh-huh.
next one. Wow, common theme here, and on. I'm
Exactly.
bringing it up to illustrate. You might not realize what's in your mind until you start doing this work and you start having some uh, conscious understanding of your subconscious, because again, that's what we're talking about, the stuff that's in your subconscious, which, as I understand it, about 90 something percent of your daily life. It's
Mhm.
everything, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That's why it's kind of so important maybe to journal or meditate, contemplate, ask
Mm,
these questions. Um, to kind of, I mean, listen to your speech, what you're saying, your dreams. Lots of stuff can help you have access to understand what's there. And so, yeah. So, what were they doing in the group? If you want to talk any more for shadow work about it.
that's about it. It was just a little segment, and it was
Uh-huh.
just, write these answers down, be honest with yourself. And the questions weren't so deep, like, oh my gosh. They were just thought provoking,
Hmm.
but essentially things that you keep within, you don't show others. Um,
Right.
that type of thing.
There is another technique you can do to bring your shadow out, in terms of questions. It's what you can do is you ask yourself these questions. I don't know if these were any of the questions, but you can ask yourself, well, who is it that really annoys me or really makes me mad or, upsets me? And then you ask yourself, well, what is it they're doing? And it's okay to be mean in your own mind. Say, well, they're rude and they tell people off or whatever. You can say, what you don't like about them. But then you have to kind of ask yourself, well, in what way do I do that? because a lot of times when we don't like our shadow, right, and we're always blocking our shadow, and we don't want people to know this about ourselves, these deeper things about ourselves, maybe that we've internalized,
Mm-hmm.
from our childhood experiences, and we project them out onto other people and see them, and they really annoy us when somebody else is doing what we don't like about ourselves. So then you ask yourself, well, are there any ways that I'm ever rude, or I ever, I'm putting others, whatever it was that bothered you. And so you have to kind of ask yourself that. So those can be some interesting questions that help you to get at your shadow.
And yes, and another exercise, if you're hanging out with people, this one's I don't want to say it's dangerous, but it's goes deeper. What do you see in the other person? Who is this person? Describe them. And
Mm-hmm.
not just the good stuff, the good and what could be the bad.
Right.
And I believe if let's say you have five people and you say, go around the room or whatever, a lot of the things that you'll say in the other people is what you'd be saying to yourself.
Absolutely. It's like the people are like our mirror.
Yeah.
And we're seeing ourselves in them, in the mirror. And but if you can be open to it, and knowing that you can take it to a place to heal, not be afraid of it, you can do that inner work. You can kind of identify, well, I have these qualities. And then when you do your kind of your role play and your shadow work with your inner child, you can take that, negative fear-based part of you that is buried, and just talk with that part, and kind of find out, well, when did you come, and why did you come, and bring them up to a healing, send them love, even though they may be negative, that there's a part that is negative, but it came for a reason. Something was happening, some trauma based life experience was occurring, that part of you developed. So you want to kind of reach to that when you're doing your role play, your inner child work, and then find out about that. And I've done a therapy once where it was even like, I think it's in my book, like it was like a birth trauma, a thing of, that, at least that's what they thought was a birth trauma, because they'd been a really long birth, very kind of traumatic, long birth experience. And this person's, when they got to their shadow, or their deeply buried fear, was filling an enclosed space and not being able to get out, and
Wow.
being, and it was like this birth trauma that it was able to go to that depth. We talked about 2 years old, but we're talking about birth. Potentially, people do talk about birth trauma, that was still internalized in there, in the body cell memory, where they could, feel in this enclosure, not being able to get out, and feeling like mom was there but didn't care, was neglectful, wasn't doing anything, that they're being crushed and thrown around, and to bring it up, and do a healing. And I did a inner child work session around that one time with the client.
Wow.
Yeah, that was deep.
I mean, we did start here by saying, birth to seven.
Uh-huh.
And I've heard that before, but I
Uh-huh.
never realized the birth. And I've heard that it can be impactful,
Right.
but the birth trauma, and mom didn't do anything wrong. Mom just birthed the baby, but
Right.
baby baby may internalize it, and then now child and now adult, as mom wasn't there when
I'm
and
in pain.
right, or like you said, a claustrophobic situation.
Right.
Let's go there for a sec.
Sure.
So somebody, I'm going really deep here, but somebody's got a fear of enclosed spaces, claustrophobia. They don't know
Yes,
where it's coming from. Could it potentially go back to their birth?
I think so. Yes. I
Mm,
mean, it's amazing what, the mind can hold, uh, that's that, I would say, from my experience
yeah.
of doing work, that people can go way back, especially it's something that's a big deal, that would be different. and really be emotional for the person.
Sure.
They have those memories deep down subconsciously.
It's a trauma. Let's be honest. Birth is a
Right.
trauma
Birth is a trauma,
on a
right?
baby, on mom and also baby.
Absolutely.
But every baby is different.
Right.
So, baby A and baby B being born, it might not even resonate with A, but the other child, that's a big deal. Same thing getting bullied.
Right.
You have two kids,
Exactly.
they could be equally bullied, same exact age. One rolls right off their shoulder, whatever, and they walk away and never even think about it ever again. The other child, that could be holding them back as an adult in major, major things,
Absolutely.
self-worth, abandonment, all of that.
Exactly. And that would be so important, like you're saying, to go into therapy or your growth groups, your men's groups and different things, your journaling, your meditation, letting things come up, to bring that up, to see what those triggers are, because they're going to pop out all the time in our relationships, right? I mean, the people are like a mirror and we're putting our take on it around them, and we don't know it. But if we can go and do the therapy, do the work, we can do the healing, and then we aren't projecting it, and then we can be at the present to enjoy the moment of being with that person, not bringing in any of our subconscious fears and negativity.
Do you think, final question on all of this,
Mhm.
for me, it was hypnotherapy where I had the realization of what's going on here. Can somebody do it through therapy? Can they do it through other modalities to have that realization of, I call it connecting the dots. You act this way now, how that connects back to your childhood at let's say age 7.
Could you repeat that? I mean,
can there be other modalities that can help? For me, hypnotherapy.
Yes.
Can straight out therapy help you connect the dots to why you act the way you do now as it ties back to your childhood?
Absolutely. I mean, in chapter 3 of my book, The Love Yourself, Love Your Life, Heal Emotional Wounds of the Past, it's kind of psychodynamic. What you do is when you feel out of sorts, that's a form of therapy that just goes to bringing that up, where you just kind of when you start to feel out of sorts about something, that you're too intense over something, you realize you're just going on and on, you can't stop it. You can ask yourself, what are my emotions, and really get below the anger to what kind of sad feelings and scared feelings you have. And then you can ask yourself, when did I feel this way before? When do I remember growing up in some relationships, family, whatever it's called? When did I feel this way before? Then you kind of caught that, repressed or dissociated, whatever it is, whatever defense mechanisms you use, you've gotten the memories up. And then you can start to parcel it out rather from the current situation. It's like, yeah, I shouldn't be so upset about this thing. And now I remember this is because it reminds me so much. This is my associations of what happened. Like you were saying about your dad, even, bringing up about asking these questions like, oh, these things about dad are there. And
now I'm more aware of it. And I
Right.
wasn't, like anything else, things you don't think about. And, until there's something, call it a trigger, whatever you want to call it, but then it comes up. Best way to find you if somebody wants to really dig into this stuff, really, it's a life changer. It's a game changer. Would
Absolutely.
you Psychology Today have somebody search you?
Yes. Psychology Today. Just look me up, Ann Creekmore. My books are under my maiden name, Love Yourself, Love Your Life. You can find it when you go to my website through Psychology Today, and I'll have it all there.
Yep. AP Filosa is your pen name.
Correct.
So great having you on here again.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, as always, for sharing and helping.
Yeah, this is big.
About your stuff, and then
to the you too.
Root of it.
I learned a lot today,
good.
especially in terms of going back and identifying why we act the way we do. Appreciate it.
Yes, appreciate you. Thank you.
Right. We'll catch you next time.
See you then.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.